at the number of languages that people can speak and how stupid I am to only speak one. But I'm trying to learn Italian at the moment.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Here he is.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, I'm very sorry. There are so many disasters running together during this pandemic. And in another hosting platform, I'm very sorry to say, chair and co-chair still missing. Just did they join now? So my junior colleagues are hosting and operating that session. I was just giving proxy. I just begging pardon to all of you. I just kept waiting. So we can start. Madam, are you here? Honorable Session Chair. Good morning,
yes,
Madam.
I'm here.
Good morning.
Good morning to everyone.
All right. So with your kind permission, can you start, Madam? Then I can hand over mic to you.
Yeah, sure.
Good morning,
Good morning,
ladies
everyone.
and gentlemen.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to the
Good morning. Myself,
International Conference.
okay, Madam, let me start. Then I'm just handing over to you, mic. Then you can continue, Madam. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Madam. Good morning. Myself, Social Worker Habib Rahman, welcome you to this 4th International Conference, WSWD 2021, on strengthening social solidarity, community resilience, and global connected. You will be very delighted to know that we started our session conference on 3rd of April and will be on till today evening, till the grand closing at 8 p.m. today. And this is the technical session 12. We are very delighted to have our Honorable Session Chair, Professor Dr. Tanzima Habib, Honorable Professor, Social Work, University of Rajshahi, Honorable Discussant, Professor Dr. Nasiruddin Mithul, Dean, National University of Bangladesh, guest speaker, Mr. Richard Hill, Director of Mind Science Institute, Australia, session guest, Mr. Mukhlisur Rahman, Honorable Ex-Secretary, Bangladesh Government. Honorable speakers, let me introduce you. Madam will actually speak about your detail and you will speak and share about you. So in the speakers list, we are very honored to have Dr. Jessica. Dr. Jessica is here in place of Claire that you have the roster. So Jessica, welcome to this platform today. Catherine, are you here? Catherine will join soon, so far I can see Catherine's in the list now. Wilkins Ndege from Kenya. Wilkins will join us immediate. Matt Perelstein from USA and Tara Cottrell from USA. So this is the actually speakers list. So again, I'm welcoming you and handing over the mic to Honorable Session Chair. Madam, you can continue now, Madam. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Habib. And good morning to everyone. Welcome to the session, Counseling, Behavioral Therapy, and Stress Recovery. Very interesting topic. And I'll not waste time. I'll just request to start the first presentation. The first presentation will be from Dr. Jessica Stone, who's a licensed therapist. And the topic will be digital co-play, connecting to your child in your digital world. So please, Ms. Jessica Stone, you may start now.
Thank you. Okay. So we are going to go pretty quickly through this. I am here, as you said, to speak about digital co-play. I am a psychologist, licensed psychologist in the United States and a registered play therapist supervisor. I'm an OT play specialist, which is working with neurodivergent children, an author, international speaker, and the CEO and creator of the Virtual Sandtray app. We're going to dive straight into what does it mean to co-play. And so what we're talking about is either joining with a person close by in the same room, the same home, the same space, playing a game together, or joining with someone from afar, from a different home, a different space, a different country, etc. And we'll talk a little bit today about what the importance of that is. Really, it boils down to entering another person's world, finding out what their interests are, how we can learn, how we can teach, how we can join, and how we can understand. A little bit of the statistics here, just to talk about some perspective. This is from Pew Research, and you can see the citation down there at the bottom. Basically, this is researching United States parents of children ages 11 or younger, and how much they are acknowledging that their children have access and exposure to television, tablet, computer, smartphone, desktop, laptop, and gaming devices. And so you can see that there is, as we would expect, quite a bit of exposure and usage that is happening there. Here, just quickly again, we're talking about, and these are both from March of 2020, US parents, and 4 out of 10 of them saying that they spend too little time with their children. In this graph here, you can see on the left, the blue is parents who think that they spend too much time with their children. The off-white color in the center is about the right amount of time. And then on the right-hand side, we have the green, which is too little time. So if we're talking in terms of two people, the parent and the child, coming together and joining and playing things together and spending time together, that 4 out of 10 parents feel like they're not spending enough time. And a good amount of parents think that they are spending just about the right amount of time. There is a great interview, and the information, again, is here for you if you want to look into it further, between Dr. Bruce Perry, which who's a person that most of us are probably familiar with. He's quite an internationally recognized authority on brain development, and then Kimberly B. Moore. And what they were talking about is using technology in the early childhood classroom. And so I'm just going to point out a couple of things from this. Really, what was boiling down to is talking about passivity versus developing skills with interaction. So if we talk about, for instance, television as a technology and sitting our children down in front of the TV without interaction. So if you're sitting and you're talking about it and you're critically thinking and analyzing different things and what the show is that's watching, that would be different, of course, than someone just sitting in front of the television. So we think of that as being very passive if someone's just sitting in front of the television. On the other hand, if we're thinking about co-play and the interaction between two people, that there's a lot of benefit for young children in being able to interact, to problem solve, and to critically think and think independently. We have, and there is a lot in this interview, so please, if you're interested, definitely go and look into it. I shouldn't have time to get into it all today here. But what it's boiling down to is that if we think of interacting with digital tools together and doing that problem solving and exploration together, then we can enhance human interactions as opposed to having something that would replace or create something other than what would be considered to be healthy. And that really is a very pregnant conversation for sure, because we can have a lot of conversations in different directions about that. But for our purposes here, we can boil it down to being able to have these interactions between people that then would help to enhance skills, enhance social skills and coping skills, frustration tolerance, these kinds of things that we really want to help in psychology, help our clients with, that if we can have these kind of interactions within the co-play, then it can be really powerful and a lot of fun. When we're talking about the therapist and the client, we also want to think about knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it. I wrote a book called Digital Play Therapy. It came out last July. I wrote it prior to the pandemic, so I'm doing an updated version that will include some of the things that we're all going through now. And then we also have Therapeutic Powers of Play, and you can find books on that as well by Dr. Charles Schaefer and Athena Drews, and then Prescriptive Play Therapy. really to say that there are foundations here that will support and explain the theoretical underpinnings of using something like digital play in a therapeutic setting. We can talk about parents and children playing together. And really what that is, it amounts to connecting. Here is a little video, and I don't think that we're gonna have time to watch it. If we do, I will play it at the end. I just wanna make sure we have time since I'm the first person, and I know there's a lot of other people to go next to me. But if you wanted to find it, it is on YouTube, and I'm happy to give you that information. At the end, you'll have a way to contact me. The video really is telling us that there's this program in California where they are bringing together parents and children, and they're playing Minecraft together. And they're talking, they have different roles, and then they switch the roles. So the parent is the lead and the child is not the lead, and then they switch where the child can be the lead. And there was parents talking about the feedback of they were surprised at that interaction between themselves and their child, and they had pretty much dismissed any kind of digital game prior to that. And this experience has opened their eyes to there being value in that, and that they enjoyed this interaction and this time with their child. Research, there's lots of research out there, and really what it's boiling down to, this is just two examples here, but where we, as a society, we have kind of this chasm that is happening frequently between older people and digital natives. And digital natives basically are people who have grown up and don't know anything other than life with all of these digital tools. And so we are trying to talk about lessening that gap and having people join together so that they can understand each other, have really good interactions, and common language between them. When we're talking about intergenerational and with adults and children, so there's a good amount of study, research out there. There's a great one by Arsand, A-A-R-S-A-N, and then this is one here by Wang et al. And really it's talking about not only better family communication and satisfaction and the closeness they have, but in their studies, they also found that families with poor family communication can really benefit even more so because now they have some common ground to come together and play and increase that effective familial communication. And really great responses of family satisfaction and whatnot. Older generations were like, let's say for instance, grandparents who played games with their grandchildren. One, they can do this from afar, right? They can be in another state, another place, wherever, and they can join together and play games together. And there's literally millions of different kinds of games that can be played out there. So finding something that could be a common ground is very possible. And the child is teaching the grandparent is learning, they're achieving together, they're super excited. I mean, me in therapy, I use some of these games, and I had a 5-year-old just recently when I was trying to do something that was difficult for me. She was like, "You can do it, Dr. Stone, you can do it." And it was something that was great for her because she was encouraging me and she was helping me, and that was a role that a 5-year-old really, at least this one, felt very proud about. And then for me, I actually felt very encouraged by her. It was a really positive interaction between us. So when it comes down to is really that we as human beings, we all want to be heard and understood and seen and accepted. And if we think about young people today being digital natives, and this is a language they speak, then it, to me, makes sense for us to join in that with them and to understand these worlds, have some amazing conversations. I play some of these games with my own kids. I have 4 kids. And the conversations we can have in the car when we're heading somewhere or something, well, definitely pre-pandemic, but when we're doing things together is really valuable because I now understand what it is they're talking about. They don't have this whole segment of their life that is an other from what I'm aware of. So I do that. I bring that same philosophy into my therapy as I do with my parenting. So what we want to do is play together and avoid the division that can happen. here is my information. That's my website, and I appreciate your time. I think I made it in the right amount of time, didn't I? Did I get too fast? Because I can keep talking.
Thank you.
I can show the video.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have finished in time, and very interesting presentation. Actually, I also have some questions, but we'll keep it for later.
Okay.
Okay. We'll start the discussion and question answer session actually at the end. So we'll now move on to the second presentation. Our second presentation will be from Catherine Stavrinopoulos. Is Catherine with us? Habib, is Catherine with us?
No, madam, I can't see her. Till yesterday, I had communication with her, but not yet she joined. Let's see. And Wilkins, I'm a bit confused about Wilkins. Wilkins had a, third presenter had a presentation yesterday with his co-author. So I'm confused either he's coming or not, but let me try, madam. So you can directly go to Matt, Mr. Matt Perelstein. And Matt is here.
Okay, so our fourth presenter will be
yes,
presenting now. Okay.
So yes, hi, welcome. I'm here, but I'm
now Matt Perelstein.
I was wondering if Tara could go first. I have something I need to finish up real quick.
Okay, yeah, you can start now. Thank you.
Thank you. Tara, do you mind? Appreciate it.
Oh, okay. Am I up next?
Please.
Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. My name is Tara Cottrell. I live in the United States. I live in Texas, and I am a licensed behavior analyst. I have a presentation for y'all, and I'll pull it up in 1 second. But just to give y'all a little bit of background, I've worked in the field of behavior analysis while I'm sharing my screen. 1 second, sorry about that. Okay. So I've worked in the field of behavior analysis since 2008. And throughout that time, I've, worked directly with the children. I've worked directly with adults. I've ran after-school clinics and ABA clinics. Currently, I'm the clinical director of the VCNH, Vanguard Center for Neurological Health, and as well as adjunct faculty for the Chicago School of Psychology. And my presentation is about ABA intervention, improving the quality of life for people with differing abilities. And I know a lot of y'all have already attended the section about autism, and this isn't just about autism, my presentation. It is about behavior analysis as a science, helping people with disabilities, whether they have autism or not. There's a wide range of disabilities, and what we can really do with the science to help the world and help our global society and help these underserved populations. So here's some things I'm going to talk about during my presentation. What is ABA and what to do with it, and helping those with differing abilities at school, at home, and in the community. So behavior analysis really simplistically is the scientific study of behavior and learning. applied behavior analysis, ABA, you always hear in the context of ABA therapy to treat autism, but really what it means is it's applied to real world scenarios. So socially significant behaviors that we want to change. So applied behavior analysis is the real world application of behaviorism, often in the form of therapy, but not limited to, because we all have behavior. So we're all influenced by the principles of behavior. So some of the ways it could be applied, you know, number one up there is ABA therapy. It's also used for addiction treatment. It's used for organizational behavior management. So that might be, some people might call that position HR, or, you know, when they hire a new management consultant to come in, which doesn't always, you know, go well, but if they're a really good consultant, it actually makes positive changes to the work environment and helps people be happier. BCBAs, or licensed behavior analysts, also can be social workers, working with people or working with the general public for public health. I know in America, there was a strong demand for behavior analysts during the beginning of the pandemic. So, you know, you saw every city wanted a behavior analyst to help figure out how to get people to behave in a more healthy and safe way. And so they might get a behavior analyst into, you know, how do we change the stores and rearrange them so that the flow of traffic is more safe and we won't have these congested areas where people are crowded together. Also, behavior analysts are counselors. They might take a more cognitive behavioral therapy approach where they're talking about internal events versus external, and would give you cognitive behavioral tools like self-instruction, identifying your thoughts and feelings and how that impacts your behavior, or setting your own goals. Some behavior analysts are also coaches, which can be similar to being a counselor. Psychological assistance, sports coaching, weight loss programs, and animal behavior. So really, if you think, do you want to change people's behavior in a workplace, in the general public, set my own goals to change my own habits, or, you know, then learning and teaching and therapy to help people with disabilities learn and live a fuller, more independent, happy life. So I just kind of wanted to give you that overview, because I think we only see the science of behavior in the context of autism, when it really can be applicable in so many ways, you know, even self-help. But today I will talk about how I use it to help individuals with differing abilities. So some of the things, these aren't all of them, but in summary, how do we change behavior? Well, we'll change the physical environment to cue the right behavior, or we'll change the contingencies present. And by contingencies, I mean that if-then. If I do this, I get this. It's the relationship of the cue and the behavior and the consequence for the behavior. That's the contingency in the environment. So we'll change contingencies so that consequences are motivating good behavior, because you can take a good person and put them in an environment where they have contingencies that motivate them to cheat or run through reports without double checking, because quickness is rewarded versus correctness. So we can go in and change these contingencies to influence behavior in a positive way. And then we also target and teach skills. So the science of behavior finds the most efficient and effective way of teaching and learning. And so we get those tools and those techniques from science. We find out what's the most effective way, and then we use that to teach. All positive-based practices, a focus. We always go first with the positive, ways of teaching. So people with disabilities or differing abilities are a growing population and are often neglected. So the World Health Organization talked about, you know, kind of what disability is, because it's not always apparent if somebody has a disability either. And so how they defined it was functioning and disability. They talked about it in those two ways, and that it's a result of the interaction between the health conditions of the person and their environment. And so that can be mental health, physical health. There's a variety of forms it can come in. So I really want to focus in on helping this population that I feel can be neglected or somewhat ostracized in the community. And how can we get them independent and happy and healthy so that they're contributing not for the sake of producing for us, but for the sake of a healthy, happy life. Because when we are productive with what we want to do, we are generally happier people. So I start with at school with some of the kids. You know, they may have a problem interacting in groups or learning in groups, and they need that one-on-one attention. And so, you know, one way to bridge the gap between needing one-on-one instruction is to explicitly teach learning within the group. So if I come in and this child is struggling in school and we don't want him to get kicked out of school, we want him to succeed in school. First, I'll generally meet with the caregiver and target, you know, what's going on, what's the problem they're having, the barrier. And then I develop relationships with the school. Sometimes I already have relationships with those schools before talking to the parent, because I try to go out and make those relationships. And a lot of this does center around relationships. We need to build relationships with the client, but also the community. So if we're going to include them, if we're going to fade out and have them independent and functioning, we want to build those relationships with their community. We want to get with the principal. We want to get with the teacher. We want to, you know, go where they're going and make sure that they can function in those environments, and we have supports for them in place with those people after we leave. We can build relationships with them and teach them how we teach, or teach them the accommodations that are necessary, and really, you know, invigorate them and inspire them to make these accommodations and build a relationship with this person as well. Because sometimes that's the barrier, is these individuals with disabilities don't easily make or maintain relationships. So we can come in and be a catalyst there and start forming that and getting them other supports as well in their life. So it's not just us, we can fade out. So I'll go in and I'll meet with the principal, I'll develop a relationship with the school and the teachers. If they allow it, depending on the laws, some public schools do allow observers, but not frequently in America. Private schools are very open to therapists, but public schools, a lot of times you have to work through special meetings with the principal. They're called IEP meetings, so about the child's plan, and you don't get to observe directly in class and do that hands-on training. But you have to kind of figure out what they can do and work with that and try to help them as much as possible, be a support for this child. And so then I'll create a program that can be used in the classroom to increase the desirable behavior and manage problematic behavior. So one child would elope from the room and wasn't doing any schoolwork. So I created first I enriched the environment so that he stopped wanting to escape the room. He wanted to be in the room. Then I created a gradual fade-in plan where we faded in work and had this goal-setting system so that it really only incrementally went up, and he started becoming motivated to set his goals higher and higher. He wanted to be able to finish 2 worksheets. by the end. And so when it was small attainable goals and we could get those little steps and faded in gradually, by the end, you know, he didn't realize how much work he was doing. He was so motivated to get to that goal. So we'll come in and create a program and then meet and train and explain the plan, give handouts, model it, as much hands-on teaching as you can do for the caregivers that'll be implementing the plan. And definitely trying to make it easy to understand, simple terms, broken down, and we don't want the teacher juggling a whole bunch of things either. So you always have to kind of put yourself in their shoes. You know, if I was an exhausted parent up all night, could I do this plan? If I was a teacher with a lot of kids in the room, you know, yelling or running around, could I put this plan into action? So the next place I would be going, or not in this specific order, but just to have a holistic treatment plan. I want to be able to enter their world in different ways. Where are they at? And so at home is a big deal. What's going on at home? So when I'm at home, you know, I meet with the caregiver. I also play with the child, build rapport, build relationships throughout the house, you know, with the whole family. Siblings play a huge role. I really focus on being present for everybody and not just tunnel vision to the client, but interact with the siblings too. Let them join in. When I interact with them, I can also redirect them to their sibling and get them engaged and start enriching their relationships. So, but at first I meet with the caregiver, see what's going on, assess their skills, target the problems, target what they need to learn, what kind of, when I say problems, I mean behaviors that are serving as barriers to learning, barriers to their relationships, barriers to their independence and functioning. So I'll look at self-care skills, chores, daily living skills, social skills within the family. And I'm not doing an extensive list because it can go on and on, but you know, just short examples for y'all. And then when I see, okay, these are the skills. Is it comprehensive? I'm targeting a wide range of skills, or is it, okay, I'm going to focus in on just hygiene, taking care of yourself. So I'm going to observe it, the targeted routine or behavior. And then I'm going to develop small goals. So I'm going to break it down in small steps, depending on how the student learns. If they can have bigger steps, certainly I would program to that. But some kids, it might be, or adults, it might be, you know, find the toothpaste, take off the lid, get your toothbrush. I might even break it down in that small step so I can teach each little step at a time and maybe do the rest for them until they get that one step down, and then they can add the next step by themselves. So breaking it down in a small goal so they can reach the desired outcome of being fully independent. And so then I was talking earlier about the techniques behavior analysts use to teach. So with these research-based techniques, they might be fading in, like I talked about the work, fading in, or prompting techniques. So errorless teaching would be when we come in and help them do it correctly the first time and then fade out. So we're not even letting them make a mistake. That's another technique. Building behavioral momentum, so getting them going with something they can do and then adding something hard. So these specific techniques are things that I will take and I will teach the parent. I will teach them how to consequate the behavior consistently and positively, or, you know, it may be ignoring that behavior and then being positive about when they redirect. So taking those techniques and putting them in situations where that's the appropriate skill they need and teaching them to the parent one at a time so that they can really absorb it and apply it consistently with their child. And then I'll always demonstrate it for them, give opportunities to practice so I can give them feedback as well, and then also give them written instructions that are really simple, because when they have these handouts, they can always go back and look at them. And sometimes, or a lot of times, I'll give them checklists, you know. Did you say first and then? Did you give them a 2-minute transition warning? And they can take data on themselves and go down this checklist so they can start learning these skills to teach their own child. And then watch the parents implement the plan and give feedback. So always giving opportunities to practice and modeling and giving the plans in writing. So next. And next is in the community. I focused a little bit on the workplace, but really I go anywhere with the student. It could be, you know, going to the bowling alley and learning to be able to do that so they can do that with their friends. Or, you know, that would open an opportunity for them to join a bowling league and enrich their life with those activities. It could be going to the store, just the grocery store. You know, let's pick out and make sure you know how to pick out food that's not rotting, and that, you know, you can count money and go through these lines. So really anywhere in the community. In this section, I did focus on job skills and how we can get that next piece when they're becoming adults and they're exiting school. How can we help them get into the workforce as well? So I broke it up in two pieces. So first, there's the training piece, right? I need to teach specific work skills, and not only the skills at work, but all the skills they're going to need to get there looking good and be there on time. So for some individuals, I might need to teach them traveling on the bus, or if they know how to ride their bike, I might need to print out maps and we learn the way to their work and how long it takes, and we time it. And they start learning time management of how long is it going to take me to do this. And then specific work skills, just some examples of some simple ones would be folding towels, cleaning tables, bagging groceries, stuffing envelopes. And then the harder ones, the soft skills, are professionalism. So being polite, using nice words, those could be more ambiguous. So then again, practice the skills within the community, teach rules and professional expectations, and teach the skills within a variety of settings and situations. And then this one, the last piece that I was going to talk about for connecting in the workforce is organizations, and it comes back to relationships. We don't need to have a big organization with all these partners to make these relationships. I can go out and I can meet the restaurant owners near me. I can inspire them to hire these individuals. I can point out their strengths. And when you get one person hiring an individual with disabilities, you can have more, because somebody will come in and see that. It's the hiring chain. Sting did a song recently about the hiring chain, and how that is an effect that just keeps going, because somebody sees they can do the job and then they'll probably hire someone. So it starts with one relationship. You can get out, find those volunteer positions. They can stuff envelopes for Red Cross. You can find that volunteer position and they can go in and stuff emergency packets just to get practicing. And when they're volunteering, just like anybody else, it helps them build relationships and find those opportunities. So I always have a strong focus on relationships, because I think it plays a big part in helping these individuals lead fuller life. And so meet with managers, connect with your local workforce commission as well. They often have vocational rehab and different employment opportunities for these individuals. So we have to really research and find the local resources to connect them and help them get that going in their life and help them get there, and their parents sign them up if that's what's needed, or sign them up themselves. And then once we get them in there, we need to determine, okay, what are the accommodations? Do they need breaks every 2 hours? Are they doing a lot of social interaction at the cash register? They might need a break after 2 hours. They might not be able to keep that polite, professionalism going if they don't get a break. So let's work that out, and, be a job coach, talk to the manager, talk to them, set up these accommodations, find a supervisor that will maintain these accommodations over time, because we can't be there forever. So again, we want these relationships of support that are going to be there when we're gone. And so, get out there and advocate and build these relationships so that they'll have long-term support even when we're not there teaching. Teach the skills so that they're understandable, that they can remember them and apply them over time, even when we're gone. So that is my presentation today. Thank you very much for listening to my talk and inviting me. I feel so blessed to get to speak among so many great speakers. Let me stop share. Stop. Oh, 1 second. There we go. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you very much for your very informative, detailed, and I think a complete presentation.
Thank you.
And to me, it's very, very, very helpful for not only professionals, for all who are having or who are dealing with persons with different abilities. Thank you, Tara. I think we'll have a question for you or comments, but at the end of the session. Okay. Now, Matt Perelstein, are you there, and do you want to do your presentation now? I can see Matt.
Certainly, yes. Thank you for putting that off. Yes, thank you. Thanks, Tara. Appreciate it. So, hi everybody. Welcome. Nice of you to be here, and I commend everybody for focusing on social workers. I think it's probably one of the toughest jobs there is on the planet. Actually, can be very difficult, very painful, and very, very important. So thank you for whatever part you play in social work. I am quick introduction. My name's Matt Perelstein. I call myself EQ dude just because it's a California thing, but it's also EQ is same as social emotional learning, which is same as emotional intelligence, which is changing the world. And the demand is skyrocketing now. People are starting to figure out how important emotions are, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. Because everybody wants it all of a sudden. I've been teaching it for 35 years, way before it was called emotional intelligence. And we were pulling teeth for a long time. People are like, what are you talking about? And now they're like, oh, so you put somebody in a room locked down by themselves for a while, and you guess what you got there? Your thoughts, your feelings, and that's about it, right? That's about it. And people are going, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, I need some work here. I need to focus on this a little bit because I don't know how to do this. So anyway, so it's been a fun time for me, and it's just getting started. So I'm excited about that. So also I just finished a book for a university. It's a university textbook for a Andhra University. It's in southern India. It's at the publisher now, so it should be out in the next week or so. I'm excited to see it. I've never seen it. Obviously, it's not there yet. So I'm looking forward to that. And I also run about, I don't know, 18 or 20 social media groups on Facebook and LinkedIn, because it is fantastic experience and it's the way to get in touch with people and what do you really want and what do you care about and what matters and what do you need, what do you know and what do you not know, that sort of thing. So it's been very educational. If you guys on LinkedIn, the big one on LinkedIn has 120,000 people and it's called the Emotional Intelligence Network. And there's one on Facebook too, which is not quite as big, but there's one called Emotional Intelligence on Facebook that has 205,000 people in it. And it's incredibly active, and so many people want to know about emotional intelligence now, and I just love it watching these people and adding 400 or 500 people a day. At a time. We're averaging almost 2,000 people a day, new people, really real people who want to know about this subject. So it's been very fun and incredibly educational and eye-opening for me. So that's been fun. I do not have a ton of experience with social work. I've worked with a lot of social workers. I am not a social worker per se. I'm not a social work trainer, but we have been teaching classes, emotional intelligence classes, like I said, for 35 years, and a lot of them were social workers. The county that we worked in California, Fresno County, they would send their employees to our class to learn about emotions because they're hurting. There's a lot to it. Like I said, it's one of the toughest jobs, in my opinion, that they're on the planet. And so people they don't know that they don't know about emotions. And then when they find out that they don't know, they go, people, emotions are, one of those things that people, I don't want to do that. That's what I've been trying to avoid my whole life. And now you want me to feel all this stuff? I'm like, oh my goodness. So, but what's really most important with that is that emotions are not taught in school. And that's wrong. And that's just wrong. And I started a nonprofit a couple years ago called EQ for Peace, because we are trying to create peace. We can create some inner peace. We can create interpersonal peace between two of us. We can create social peace among us. And we can teach all that. Those are teachable skills, and they're not taught in schools. And that is wrong. So we're trying to get emotional intelligence training into schools everywhere, worldwide. No big feat, right? But why not? I mean, I'll give it a shot. So we're starting with Asia, including Bangladesh and India, and Nepal is being the model for that, which is pretty cool. And the United States, which is not the model. Well, actually they are. We're doing pretty good in some ways. Emotional intelligence is now taught in something like 75% of the school districts in the United States. But all that means is that one school in a whole district is teaching it. And there's a lot of work to do. Most of the schools don't, and most of the schools don't even know what I'm talking about. But teachers and administrators do. So they're starting to go, we would love to have our kids know about themselves and be able to manage themselves and behave. And it's not meant to be controlling, so I shouldn't say behave, but they would at least understand what's going on and what's causing misbehavior, that kind of thing. So it's a beautiful subject all the way around. So I'm going fast because I also have slides, and I have quite a few of them, so I'll try to go quickly through them, but I also talk fast because I'm excited about this subject. I love this subject. There's nothing I'd rather talk about. In fact, today is my birthday, and somebody said to me today, oh, well, you can take off tomorrow. I'm like, no, this is great. This is exactly what I would love to be doing on my birthday, is doing a presentation to people who give a damn about emotional intelligence. So I'm not complaining. This is good stuff. So happy to be here. So let's see. Can you see my screen now? Can you see the slideshow?
Yeah, we can see. Yeah, we can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. All right, thank you. if we had more time, what I like to do a lot of times is have everybody turn on their camera for a minute and say hello and wave, and just so we know, instead of we're looking at a bunch of black boxes. But we don't have much time, I don't think. So so I'll just go through this. So I already introduced myself. eqforpeace.org is our email, or is our. So I want to talk about three things quickly. One is coping skills, and that is what's happening now. A lot of social workers are hurting. They don't know, they're overwhelmed. They are it's a powerless. There's a lot of powerlessness in social work, where you can, there's a lot you can do and there's a lot you can't do, right? There's tons of rules, there's tons of regulations, there's tons of things you can't do, like hug the kids. You can't take the parents that you want and just shake them and go, what are you doing? What are you doing? Don't do that to your kids. That kind of thing. So, so there's coping skills first, which is the urgent need. Then there's education, which is kind of okay, let's learn about how to do this so that you can start doing it better from here on. And then there's ongoing training and support. And what we're finding, because of one of the many blessings, in a weird way, of the COVID's lockdowns, is that the medical profession, which is where all the money is, as you know, is having trouble, because there's a lot of doctors and such that are having, and caregivers are having a heck of a time with the COVID's patients. They're losing patients. They never had that before. They never failed before. They never had to work that many hours before. They never had this big of a challenge before. We have I know a doctor here in town that lives in his garage at home with his family, but his family's in the house and he lives in the garage, so he doesn't have to hang out, so he doesn't have to be there with his family, so he won't infect his own family. And this is this medical used to be, a doctor used to be the best profession on the planet. Now everybody's like, oh, I wouldn't want to be a doctor. I'm sorry, no way. So anyway, so that kind of things, there's a lot going on for them. And because of that, it has spread out into, they're doing a lot of research into how do we help these folks, and one of them is support. And they're actually requiring, which is a cool thing, they're requiring support groups for medical professionals, for doctors and stuff. And I think we probably should do that for social workers as well. Is you got to talk about this. You think you can do it alone? You can't. You can't. No offense, but you can't. You can't do it alone. We're social beings, and we have to talk about it, and we got to vent, and we got to dump, and we got to get some feedback, and we got to talk to people that are safe and that we care about, and that kind of thing. So ongoing support is huge. So let me talk about the coping skills to start with. Urgent need, get some help. It's getting a little bit less stigma. A lot of people, getting therapy or getting help is always, oh no, that's a big deal and that's a weakness and all that kind of stuff. Well, it's going down a little bit from what I'm hearing. It's still not great, but it's getting there. And online help, Zoom, you can get help remotely, and it's working. You don't have to go to a therapist's office. You don't have to risk somebody seeing you sneak in there, that kind of thing. You don't have to, it can be totally anonymous. Nobody knows anything about it, and it's working. And that's a beautiful thing. And so more and more people are saying, oh, maybe I could go to therapy and do it online. And it's working. So that's great, in my opinion. Social workers tend to not be very good at self-care. And some of the basic things we're talking about, to the point of breathe, to people they stress, and you start hyperventilating and having panic attacks and overload and that kind of thing. And you just breathe, just stop and breathe. I should have put that, stop and breathe. And you just stop, right? It said 6 seconds pause. I don't know if you guys know who 6 seconds is. They're the largest CQ trainer in the world. And it takes 6 seconds for your big emotions to fire up and take over your brain. It's called amygdala hijack. If you guys know who Daniel Goleman was, he started a lot of this, the big push to emotional intelligence. He kind of coined the phrase back in '95 with a book called that. It's called Emotional Intelligence, Why Emotional Intelligence Can Be More Important Than IQ, can be more important than IQ. And it's on the New York Times number 5 on the top 20 most relevant books of all time kind of thing. Anyway, so taking that pause, what happens, your amygdala takes over, and when your feelings, basically your feelings go up, your logic goes down, and you can't think very well. But if you give it just a couple seconds, like counting to 10 kind of thing, you give it a couple seconds, things settle down, and you can make better decisions, and you don't freaking out and that kind of thing, and you don't have panic attacks quite as much. You just breathe, just stand there and breathe. And it's called mindfulness, it's called consciousness, it's called being in the present moment, all that kind of good stuff. And it's called being emotionally intelligent. Just chill for a sec. So taking the time out, just walk away for a second, a little bit of meditation, going inward, looking at yourself, picturing, go to your happy place. I mean, it seems funny there, it's in the movie sometimes, but it's a real thing. And have a place where you can settle. You've got a picture in your mind. It's called neurolinguistic programming, where you have pictures and sounds and thoughts in your mind, and you can go there and it settles everything down, it settles your body down. And then just good old emoting, which people don't like very much, but it works, which means if you need to cry, cry. If you need to yell, yell just for a minute. And there's a real cool video for kids called Push a Wall. Don't pound the wall, don't kick the wall, don't smash the wall. Push, just push. You just push and you just push and push. And when you get all the stress out of your body, and then take a breath, and then you can breathe and you can go forward. So there's some stuff we're trying to work with people on urgent needs right now. So then the ongoing needs, okay, emotional education, like I said, we don't know much about it. Most people, there's a slide on this later, but most people, in my opinion, have no idea what emotional intelligence is. They never heard that term. I love using that. Try it sometime. Just ask somebody, have you ever heard of emotional intelligence? And it makes it so much better conversation from then on with that person from then on. Because if they have, then you say, oh yeah, what have you heard about it? And you start talking about your emotions. And then it opens up a door to this whole other realm of your relationship. It's so cool. It deepens it. If they haven't heard of it, you say, have you ever thought about you can be smart about your feelings, like your fear and your anger and your sadness and your guilt and stuff. And you can do things with those, and you can be smart about them. You don't have to carry them around with you. And they're like, really? I've had people go, really? It's kind of a life changer just by bringing that up. Did you know you can be smart about your feelings? Like, really? Wow. I'll try that sometime. Anyway, it's a beautiful thing. So try it. But it never stops. Our emotions never stop. Our thoughts never stop 24/7. So we probably better get good at them. And we can get to inner peace. We can actually learn how to create some inner peace inside of ourselves by managing our inner world. So I believe most parents want the best for their kids. I believe that social workers want the best for their clients, for their parents, and especially the kids. I believe that social work, like I said, is an incredibly stressful, painful, powerless job a lot of times. And if you take your emotions and then add powerlessness to it, it makes it much worse. It makes it much worse. If you're upset about something, but you feel like you have some power over it, okay, that's one thing. But if you are upset about something and there's nothing you can do about it, man, it gets bad quickly. It turns to hopelessness and burnout and panic and depression and that kind of thing. So watch out for that powerlessness thing, because the cool part, the good news is that if you can deal with your emotions, then you may be powerless about the outside world, but you're not powerless about your inner world. And that is a beautiful, wonderful thing. I can manage me, and that gives people the power and control over their own lives. And that changes everything from I'm a victim to no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not a victim. This stuff might have happened. And you could, the government happened, and the disease, the pandemic happened, and the economy, whatever, that's all happening. I can't necessarily change all that stuff, but I can manage me. And that works. That works for a lot of people. So, going on, what is emotional intelligence about? It's basically very, 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 very basically, it's our thoughts, our left brain thoughts, our right brain feelings, and our actions. That's it. Actually, our thoughts, our feelings, our decisions, and our actions, because our thoughts and our feelings bring up our decisions. Then we decide to act or we decide not to act, right? That's a motion. That's a movement. I pick up my arm. That's an action. Well, I have a thought about that. I have a feeling about that, and then I do it. But a lot of people are aware of their thoughts about it. They are not aware of their feelings about about it. And so they're not getting all the information that they need to move forward. So this is a 6 seconds diagram. Again, thought, feeling, action. You bring them all together in the center, and that's where you're in control of your inner world. EQ is the study of you and me and we, learning how to deal with our inner world. So some studies show there's kids start off with pretty high emotional intelligence when they're born. They cry when they need to cry, and then they stop, and then they feel better, and then they go back to being happy. That's how emotional intelligence works, right? And they're really good at it, and it's downhill from there, pretty much. Sometimes quickly, if it's traumatic. If you have trauma in your life, or you got nasty parents or whatever, sometimes kids go downhill quickly, sometimes slowly, but for the most part, without any education, it's downhill from there. Sorry. So that's why we can, it's important that we're doing what we're doing and teach what we teach. So when we talk about emotions, they're real simple, right? If you're sad, cry. Ha. See how easy that is, or how simple that is? It's simple, but it ain't easy, right? That's not easy. Letting yourself do that and letting yourself feel what you feel and being aware of what's going on inside you. Sometimes it's not easy. In fact, sometimes it can be some of the hardest stuff you ever do. But I should say, when we do manage to handle stuff that is really difficult for us, we get this thing called self-esteem and self-trust and self-acceptance and that kind of thing, where we start going, hey, what it boils down to is if you can handle the big three, which I call them the big three: fear, anger, and sadness. Those big three, if we can handle our own fear, anger, and sadness, there just isn't that much that life can throw at us that we can't handle. We got it, right? We're like, bring it on. I can deal with whatever I need to because I can deal with negative emotions. I mean, it seems ridiculously simple, but if you can't deal with emotions, then it doesn't go well. And we're trying to avoid them, and we lie about them, and we do all this stuff, and we use over them, and it's causing, I don't think I have a slide in here about it, but actually, we found that with the lack of emotional training causes violence, it causes abuse, it causes addictions, it causes divorce, it causes suicide, certainly. And so you guys probably know domestic violence, suicide, child abuse or stuff are all shooting up right now with everybody stuck at home, and they got these poor kids, and moms are stuck with their abuser in the house, and there's nowhere they can go, and it's awful. And the suicide rate is just, especially in the United States and also in Asia, is going up. Unfortunately, and this is a wild one I heard the other day, #1 demographic for suicide in the United States or worldwide, I don't know, I forget the exact statistic, but it was the #1 demographic was unpaid caregivers. Think about that, unpaid caregivers, which is kind of like social workers, but it's home. So you've got a parent, or you've got a spouse or something who's really sick, and you're trying to take care of them, and it's getting worse, and there's not much you can do, and you start getting powerless, and you start getting hopeless, and they're just like, you know what? I don't see any change in sight. I'm out of here. It's pretty bad. So, and kids, 10 to 24, #2 cause of death now in the United States for kids 10 years old committing suicide. Just like, this is wrong. So anyway, there are tons and tons of benefits to learning about emotions, and one of the keys to the whole thing is that you can improve your relationships, because people actually do care about what they're feeling, and they care about that you care about what they're feeling, surprisingly. And so if you stick with feelings and focus on that at least somewhat, then you guaranteed pretty much to have better relationships. So here's the left brain. This is way oversimplified, and it's kind of fun graphic, just showing that we have left brain logic, we have right brain, our passion and our excitement and our creativity. The left brain stuff we deal with in school, the right we do not for the most part. And so we need to improve our right brain. The idea is balance, left brain and right brain. And what it boils down to is, what does this make sense, and does it feel good? Does it make sense logically, and does it feel good or right? So you use your values and you use your emotions and you use your intuition to see. But if you're not aware of your feelings, you don't have that information. All you have is, does this make sense? And sometimes your emotions take over, and you need to balance it, and you need to do both. So so the 3 steps to EQ that I came up with are just kind of fun thing that I've been using to try to sum things up quickly is awareness first. Awareness always first. You can't do anything until you're aware, right? Hello, you got to be aware, or else you can't make logical decisions on things. First, you got to be aware. Second, acceptance. It seems like a stupid little thing, but it's not. A lot of people do not accept their emotions. A lot of people do not accept what's going on inside them. A lot of people do not accept others, right, and their feelings and what's up with them. So there's a bunch of things to do with acceptance. It can be done just that long, speed of thought kind of thing, or you can fight it for the rest of your life. I suggest you accept fast, learn to accept things quickly, inside and outside. And then third is action. So once I'm aware, I got it, and I'm okay with it, then I can do something with it, right? Then I could do something or not. So I could take some action or not. My action can be, can be more educated. I can make better decisions that way, and I can take some action. A lot of times with big emotions, no action is a very good idea. Don't say it. Be quiet. But the cool part is that if you're choosing not to do something, then you're choosing not to do something. You're in charge. It's not them. Nobody made you do this. Nobody makes you angry. Nobody hurts your feelings. You do that. You do that yourself. And that, I'm going to get into that in a minute, is called emotional responsibility. And I could do something with that, or I can not do something about that, but it's up to me. And action is a huge part of this whole thing. So I like this quote. This is Dr. Viktor Frankl was in a concentration camp for a long time, and he watched the people that made it and the people who didn't. And he said he found out that what it had to do with how you control your responses to what happened. And this is the key to emotional intelligence, which is, his quote is, between stimulus and response, which means between what happens outside of you and how you respond, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. Emotional intelligence is about choices. We have lots more choices with emotional intelligence than we do without it. And so we have the power to choose our response, and in our response lies our growth and our freedom. Check that out. Growth, choices equal freedom, in my opinion. And so I love this quote, because we can either react to things or we can respond to things. Respond means I'm thinking about it. I'm using my smarts here. I'm using my left brain and my right brain, and I'm going to respond in a cool way. I'm not just reacting. We know, accept, express ways to deal with your emotions. I understand what I'm doing. I accept it, and I release it in some way. I express it. You don't have to express it on anybody else. You can just let it out of your body. You can just yell for a minute. You can push a wall. You can you write. You can sing. You can dance. You can run. You can exercise. You can do all kinds of things. But if you think about, you're expressing your emotion. You're expressing it and getting out of your body, out of your system. You don't have to carry it around. Then you breathe, and then you go from there. And it's a wonderful thing. It doesn't cost a thing. Everything about emotional intelligence is free, except for, if you want somebody's time to help you or read a book, or that might not be free, but emotional intelligence in general is free, just like intellectual intelligence, and the ideas are free forever. So here's a cool graphic I made. I just thought it's fun. The guy's got plenty of IQ, not much EQ. You learn your EQ, then your balance, and then you can fly. Otherwise, the guy on the left, he's spinning around in circles. It's ugly. So here's another good one. Educating your mind without educating the heart is no education at all. I think that's a little bit severe, but you get the idea. Is you got to do both sides. Emotions do matter. And here's the big one that I do in every one of my 100 whatever talks. I've been keynote for like 8 different things in the last conferences in the last year or so. And I was always say the same thing. The biggest point is that it's emotional responsibility, that my thoughts and my feelings are mine. I made them. I can manage them. I can deal with them, and they're mine. Nobody made me angry. Nobody's doing this to me. I'm doing it to myself. If I'm upset, I can change it. And if my thoughts aren't working for me, change them. If my feelings aren't working for me, change them. I can change them in their minds. So that gives me power over my life, and that's a wonderful thing. So no matter what happens outside, we have the power to control what happens inside. All right, I already said that. And this applies to social workers or not social workers, everybody, in my opinion. So most people have no idea they can be smart about their thoughts and feelings. The good news is this is life-changing stuff, life-saving. I've personally experienced people who were definitely going to commit suicide and definitely did not, because they dealt with their feelings and they're like, oh, okay, well, I can deal with this. And they continue to deal with it, 10 or 20 or 30 years later. It's pretty cool. Real quick, here's how the steps work. Stuff happens outside of us. Feelings and emotions happen inside of us. We have thoughts, we have feelings, they go around inside of us. So now we're inside, right? It's not outside anymore. Now it's my problem. It's not their problem anymore. It's all immediately becomes my problem, right? The magic of it is that I become aware and I accept. I become aware and accept. And those two things give me the power, right? Then I evaluate what's going on, my thoughts and my feelings. I make decisions on my thoughts and my feelings, and then I take action or not on my thoughts and my feelings, right? And then I'm in charge. So then you can make things happen. You can get better results. You can have better relationships, all that kind of good stuff. But with these three big steps in between, awareness, acceptance, and action, then you're in charge. So some of the thoughts, I have a couple of good friends. Our workshops, we've been doing we've taught a lot of social workers. So I called a couple of them to ask about them. They said social workers tend to be codependent. No offense, you guys, but codependent being that a lot of social workers got into social work because they had trauma and they were abused and stuff happened to them in their childhood. And so they're wanting to help other people with that. Naturally, teachers do the same thing. A lot of people, doctors do the same thing, but social workers in particular. So they tend to be codependent. They tend to be not very good at self-care because stuff happened to them. They're a lot of them are shame-based or guilt-based, and they think they're less than at a real heavy core level from way back in childhood. And so they don't have good boundaries of their own. They have their own personal traumas to deal with. And it's just tough. And it makes it their super, super important job they're trying to do much, much harder because they got their own issues involved, and they may or may not know that they have all their own issues involved. So anyway, so it needs some work. It needs some focus. There is a such thing as too much empathy, according to both of the ladies I talked to today. There's a such thing as too much empathy. Empathy is the number one strongest thing for emotional intelligence, but you can overdo it. You can hurt for someone else so much that it hurts you, and you're not helping them. You end up hurting yourself, and you can overdo it. You can give up too much boundaries. You can let people walk all over you, that kind of thing. You can actually have too much empathy. Some people are like, what? And you go, yeah, you can. So, and they also said that if you start doing self-care and you start taking care of yourself and you start saying no sometimes and you start not doing things that you used to do that were really unhealthy, a lot of times people feel really guilty. The social workers feel guilty about doing that. So there's more pressure on them to give in and to give too much and to not take care of themselves. And that's a bad thing. So, and so we need to encourage them that it's okay to have boundaries. It's okay to be okay. And it's not easy, but I mean, it's simple, not easy. Again, one of the keys seems to be to separate your feelings from theirs, right? You're in the midst of these, the social workers are working with these kids, are working with parents that are being yucky or whatever, and they're trying really hard. And you know, your heart just naturally goes out to these families and you want to help them. How do you let go of that when you go home, right? How do you not get enmeshed in that so that you care so much for them that you're losing parts of yourself, kind of thing. And it's tricky. It's very much tricky. The one lady said, what I do, she would drive home the same way from the office. There was a stoplight that was a couple blocks from her house. And she goes, when I get to this stoplight every day, when I get to the stoplight, I switch it. She would make it switch. When that light turns green, I'm no longer at work. I'm at home, and I'm sorry that all that stuff may be happening at work. I'm letting it go. It's not my problem right now. No offense, but it's not my problem. That's your problem, and I gotta let go of it. And for the rest of the evening, I'm gonna be me, right? And let go. And so it was a beautiful thing. She was talking about how neat. She was really excited that she had come up with a plan because it was working really well for her. So again, simple, not easy. So let's go to the third part, ongoing support, and that is about working together, getting the social workers on as a team, getting people to talk to each other. Like I said, with the medical profession, they're starting to require support groups. I think that is just so wild and really encouraging. You think you can do it alone, you can't. No offense, but you can't. So talk about it. You got to talk about it. And one of the main component of that is safety, emotional safety. I got to be able to say what I need to say. It's got to be confidential. It's got to be expected. It's got to be encouraged, and it's got to be without a bunch of repercussions at the end, afterward, or criticism or put downs or name calling, any of that stuff. It's got to be safe. And talking to people who've been there like you have. You just talk to somebody, sometimes it's great, but it really works well if you know that person has gone through what you've gone through. And then of course creating teamwork, and I got your back, and let's talk this through. I hear you're having trouble with this case, kind of thing. Teamwork is really important, to know that you're not alone in this big, huge battle against the world. So acceptance, number one relationship skill in emotional intelligence, is most people don't know this, is that you have the ability and the right, I don't know what the word is, but you can open your heart as much as you want, and you can close it as much as you want. It's up to you. That is part of the emotional responsibility thing, that you're in charge of you and how much you open your heart. Sometimes when you go to work and it's super hard and things are awful, you just kind of shut things down and you do your job, and blah, 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 blah. And then when you get home, you can open back up a little bit or a lot and go, hey babe, I had a tough day. And you can just open up and grab your kids and hug the heck out of them and that kind of thing. So you get to do that. Communication, number one communication skill, is a fun thing that I came up with, it called listening with soul, which just means stop or shut up. Open up your heart and listen to people. If you do that, I have personally, and many other people have found, that it's kind of magical, where people will just melt, and they just come to you, and they can be intimate. They feel safe. They can be intimate. They tell you stuff that they've never told anybody before, because you took the time to shut your mouth and open your heart a little bit and just listen to them and be there with them and be present and accept and love them. So number one communication skill, in my opinion. This is what success skill for emotional intelligence. RPG is the most powerful weapon you can carry in war. It's called a rocket propelled grenade launcher. It's a badass weapon that you can blow people away with this thing. That's for war. For peace, though, in emotions, it's also RPG, resilience, right? Perseverance and grit. Resilience is I can do this, and I'll come back and bash, and I can still come back. Perseverance is I can keep going. And grit is, this is going to be so hard, and I'm going to do it anyway. This is really hard, and I'm going to do it anyway. I can do this. That's grit. Grit's a famous word now, very powerful. University of Pennsylvania, who came up with positive psychology. There's books and books now on grit, which is really cool. I think it's a cool word. All right, I'm almost done. So changing the world from inside out. A lot of stuff happens at what we can see versus what we can't see. All kinds of stuff happening in the iceberg underneath the ocean. And then what we can see is just a success or failure. A couple of takeaways: managing our inner world, self-care, of course, emotional responsibility. And if we can get clients to be emotionally responsible as well, emotional intelligence leads to emotional responsibility. Emotional responsibility leads to personal responsibility, because if you want your feelings to be okay, you better take care of your stuff and play well with others and not be a jerk and that kind of thing. So it leads to personal responsibility, and that leads to social responsibility. And someday our nonprofit is about, someday, if we can teach all those things, maybe we'll get to big peace, big world peace. Maybe someday we can give it a shot. And the last thing is each one teach one, EQ, which is a movement that I think is fun to just say, and I think it's our responsibility that if you know about emotional intelligence and most people do not know about it, please share it with them. Please tell them, teach somebody, anybody about emotional intelligence. And since you got responsibility to share. So here's some stuff about me. Feel free to let's be friends if you like. And I got tons of stuff on YouTube and free stuff and blah, blah, blah. So sorry if I went too long, but got a lot to say. I could go on and on and on. I love talking about this.
Okay, thank you, Matt. What a presentation.
You're welcome.
Very lively, insightful, helpful to, I think, all of us who are dealing with persons. And let me wish you first, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I forgot about that.
I'm
Thank you.
wishing you on behalf of everyone. I don't know whether I can have a chance to get back to you. Very nice presentation, and thank you for sharing the techniques, skills, and so many important things.
Yep.
Emotion.
Oh.
What an important topic.
Yep.
Very good.
I got to put a link to my book. The book is being published. The book is being published by the university, but I don't know if I'm going to get a copy or not, or if they're going to have it for sale or not. So I just put it in a Google Doc. So if you guys want it, you can have it. So I'll put the link in.
Can I request you to write it on the chat box, please? Your book name and the
Yeah, I am right now.
Information
I
as
am.
well. And happy birthday to you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you very much, Matt.
Okay, so go on.
And I think we have one more presenter today, Wilkins. He's with us now. He joined a little bit late, but Wilkins, are you ready for your presentation?
Yes. I'm in.
Okay, thank you, Wilkins. And your topic is nature of online child abuse in Langata sub-county in Kenya. And I'd like to request you to make a short presentation, please, because we're running out of time.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you can start now.
Thank you for delaying, but let me go right away to the presentation. I think I missed a point in calculating the time, but let me go into the presentation right away. Just allow me a minute or less to share the screen. Yeah, here we go. I hope you're able to see it.
Yeah, it's okay.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm presenting on the nature of online abuse in Langata sub-county. This is a small part in within Nairobi city. Nairobi is the capital city of Kenya. And I am a social worker by training, medical social worker. I work at Pan-African Christian University in Kenya. Those are my details, and I'm happy to be here to present this work on this international conference. Yes, so I go on to the next. Yeah, so to introduce, the outline of what I'm going to present is as shown there. So I'll do a bit of introduction, methodology, and then results, and on recommendation and conclusion. So just to introduce what I'm talking about, generally, online child abuse is in the area of child protection, and you know very well, or for those who are social workers, child protection is a key area in social work generally, and online child abuse is a new form of abuse that has come up, not now, it's been there now for quite some time. And generally, if you look at the intention of practicing within child protection or the practice of child protection, it has an aim of achieving sustainable development goals, and generally, how we take care of our children determines how or to what extent we engage in development in a sustainable way, because we always know that children are part of our future. We need to understand that generally there has been a growth of information within the society, and maybe the use of internet and other online related platforms. And this has brought about problems running away, or maybe spanning all across, even health related problems, behavior related problems. And there are many studies that have been carried out. And we realize this has become a global concern. Many people are expressing their concerns concerning the exposure, the access, affordability, and among other things, what children are going through, just like adults. And it is even worsened by the situation we are in, the corona or the COVID-19. Yeah, so everyone has gone online, and we are even online ourselves. So child abuse has been there. It has previously been physical and other forms, but now it has transformed into this online bit. Looking around and reading more in the literature, you realize that there are quite a number of forms of online abuse which exist by various scholars. If you read around all these, you find there's a lot of literature on cyberbullying. There's a lot on grooming. There's a lot on pornography, sexting, sharenting, and even cyber dating. And these are not the only ones. These are just but few. So this was a part of my study, my PhD study, and methodologically, this is the methodology that this study adopted. So it was a descriptive cross-sectional design, which adopted the mixed methods approach, because I collected both qualitative and quantitative data. And the study area was Langata sub-county, which is within Nairobi, and there was 3 cluster areas that the focus was on more to represent the entire sub-county. The areas were Karen, Mugumoine, and South Sea wards within Langata sub-county, which is within Nairobi City County. So it targeted children, 423, and then there were also parents, there were teachers, and also it was necessary to get some information from child protection officers in the children's department, in the DCI, a unit that focuses on protecting and even investigating matters to do with child abuse online, because they have a very strong center that is supported to deal with these issues. Then there is the sampling. 12 primary schools. There were 12 public. Public in Kenya, we have state-run schools, and those that are individually owned or run by individuals or churches or religious organizations. So we had 2 public and then 2 private primary schools in every area, so which brought us to the number of 12. So that is how the sampling was done using Gordon's formula, 384 and then plus 39 because of catering for non-response. And then multi-stage sampling design, stratified, simple stratified, and even stratified purposive sampling were used, including also convenience sampling. So going right into, this is how data was collected, using interview, discussion as methods, and focus group discussion schedules, questionnaires, and structured interview guides. So the response rate was as follows. You can see out of the 423, only 370 were well done, the questionnaires, and 53 were not. So that 87% was a good percentage to analyze. So the distribution, I may not talk about all these, but the study was looking at how children were accessing internet, the places they were accessing, whether they were accessing at home or not, and then gadgets that they were using, whether they were using laptops, smartphones, tablets, and even frequency, how often they accessed internet, and which kind of sites they were using to access, which sites they were, which sites they were accessing internet on, or maybe they were using mostly when they access internet using those various gadgets. So I may not go into every bit of this, but this is how it looked like, just to understand how do they access and in which way, which gadgets do they use. So also it was interesting to understand why do they access internet and which kind of activities do they do online. So in Kenya, we have the various systems. Of course, they study accessed students from pupils from 844 system and also from the other system, IGSE system. So in Kenya, classes are organized like this, although now we are changing into, nowadays we are talking about grade 1, 2, 3 like that, but we have class 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Class 4 is like grade 4, class 5 is grade 5, class 6 is grade 6, class 7 is grade 7, and then class 8 is grade 8. So this is how it came out. So most of the children were using internet to learn, especially in the private schools. They were using internet to get materials or maybe for learning purposes. And as you can see from this, it shows very well that mostly the highest numbers are here. So the learning was the main purpose, but of course they also do gaming, fun, and they do also chatting and even others. Yeah. So these are the major forms of abuse that happen within that area in Kenya, in Langata sub-county. So just like literature had shown, yeah, there is a lot of cyberbullying happening in the schools and even at home, because the study was looking at what happens at school and also at home as children are accessing internet. So there's cyberbullying, there is grooming, there is pornography, sexting, sharenting, and cyber dating. So cyberbullying is where, as they are interacting or engaging on the internet, there are others who maybe use kind of a bully, a kind of engagement, not really a friendly one. Grooming is maybe trying to attract this person and engage them more and more, and even sometimes even they end up meeting physically. Pornography, where they access materials that are not really friendly to children, and they have the sexual continuation or sexual in nature. And then sexting is also just sending texts that are also carrying that kind of message that is about sex. And then sharenting, of course, how parents are using, for example, like their photos or something, what they engage in, and trying to use it to show off. And cyber dating, especially those who are maybe grade 8 onwards, yeah, that was happening. So in terms of recommendation, the study, after finding out all these, it came out clearly that all these people, all these stakeholders have a responsibility to take care of children, and using the systems thinking, it came out clearly that the child has a responsibility, the family has a responsibility, the school has a responsibility, the community, the state or the nation, the country, and then globally, there is need for intervention at that level. In terms of policies, the state the same, and there are quite a number of policies which I may not go into because of time. Then the community, again, also, because they are like in Kenya, we have cybers. If the child cannot access internet at home, they can access it in a cyber, or if they cannot access it at school, they can access it in the cyber. So the community also has a role, even the people who are running the cybers, cyber cafes. Then the schools also, because of the importance, because through the study, it came out clearly that internet has advantages and disadvantages. So school interventions are also very important. And then family interventions within the family, that parents, guardians, or anyone who is taking care of a child in a home setup and have custody of the child, or they are taking care of a child, they also have a responsibility to guide and take care of this child. Then the child himself or herself also there is a way, if they are digitally literate, for example, they can delete, they can filter, there are various interventions that they can do by themselves. So it came out through the study's recommendation that all these stakeholders have various roles to play, and we need to apply that kind of systems thinking in terms of the intervention, in the sense that we look at various stakeholders and how which kind of forms of abuse they are exposed to, especially these children, and then who in which kind of environment, if you apply the systems thinking, which kind of environment and which kind of intervention can happen at what level, so that this child is protected. So to conclude, is just to say that child abuse is real and requires concerted efforts to address it. No one person can do it. The community has a role, as we have seen, those various stakeholders, and of course, based on the various forms of abuse that exist. Then again, that child abuse is happening, and it's starting now at a very early stage. As early as even less than 1 year, children are exposed to. They may not be able to by themselves interact with the internet, but somehow, to a certain extent, parents expose them. But you find the age has gone, or it's going lower and lower in terms of how they use it and how also they abuse. And then gender and age are also determinants when it comes to prevalence and even frequency of online abuse, although the study revealed fewer girls have the skills, digital literacy skills, and also comparing the boys. So this is the conclusion, and that is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wilkins, for your
You're welcome.
time. And I think we have done all the presentation. Very nice presentation from everyone. Thank you for your nice presentation here. Now I'll move on to our discussion. Dr. Nasiruddin Mithul, Dean, National University, Bangladesh. I'd like to request you to have your comments or discussion regarding the presentation we had today. And I will remind you actually the time. We have to end by time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair, to give me the floor as a discussant. Since yesterday, actually, it has been started 3 days before, but since yesterday till now, I'm in the session and enjoying different presentations. And today's, I unfortunately missed first presentation, but last 3-4 presentation I have enjoyed, especially the presentation on emotional intelligence. Oh, it's marvelous. I enjoyed it a lot, and personally I have been benefited by this, because as a teacher, as a dean, in most of the routine time, I have to pass my time in counseling, through counseling. So I would like to give thanks to all of the presenters. And today's topic, counseling, behavioral therapy, and stress recovery. It is quite relevant during this pandemic, I think, because this time, especially, students are frustrated very much, people are frustrated very much, and all the community people, I mean, not only in family, not only the kids in the family, everyone becomes frustrated due to this coronavirus, due to this COVID-19. So this time, this sort of counseling, this sort of presentation, and this sort of discussion will at least increase our immunity, I strongly believe. So just I would like to add something with today's topic, that yes, I missed Tara Cottrell presentation because of my another meeting, but I have enjoyed a lot the Matt Perelstein presentation, and I already comments in the chat box that yes, your expression is very much learning to us. And as a part of my academic course, I am teaching my students psychosocial therapy. I am giving my students psychosocial therapy. So it is very essential. And what's happening right now in Bangladesh, you know, due to COVID-19, in 12 sectors, there are 20 million people become jobless. I'm giving you the information. This is the latest information for all of you that will help us why emotional intelligence is very much essential right now. In 12 sectors, there are 20 million people become jobless. And the people who stays in urban area, I mean, especially in capital city or metropolitan city area or cosmopolitan city, they are going back to their native places, becoming jobless. On the other hand, 4 million people only in 5 sectors, many job opportunities have been created. 4 million jobs have been created. So we need to think about the 20 million people. They are just yesterday they have their job. Today, when they have entered into their office was said, yes, you will be no more, because you know the economy is turned down. Economy is going down everywhere. Where in a garment industry, we have seen that 100 people work over there, but right now they are working with their 50 people. Even if you see the government offices, there is a provision for the day basis worker over there. Everywhere in private sector and in government sector as well. Day basis, no work, no pay. But we need to think about these people. And they are committing to suicides, they are committing to frustration. And yesterday's session we discussed about why depression occurs, why anxiety occurs, why stress occurs. And these are the reasons. Not only this, not only due to jobless. If you just see our kids in the home who are staying in the home, every morning they are asking us, Papa, what next? What I will do? From morning to till night, they are asking us, Baba, what I will do? What next? So as their school, college, universities closed, they have any work. And just my last presenter says online abuse. And he also mentions especially 4 or 5 things, yes, cyberbullying, grooming, because they are habituated on online. And the midnight, from morning to midnight, they are just using this sort of devices. So they also need counseling through emotional intelligence, I believe. And emotional intelligence right now is a burning issue, because only it can make a dream to the frustrated people to survive, to refight, to fight again and again. I mean, here Mark mentioned RPG. This is very much learning, because resilience, just to be resilient. We need to be resilient, otherwise we cannot be cope up with anywhere. Right now, it's important. What situation maker? Nobody knows what will happen in the next. Nobody knows what will happen in tomorrow's. Because I have given an example yesterday that yes, all of you know MP Aslamul Haq. He was the parliament member. Day before yesterday, he attended the parliament, but the next day he died. Not only COVID, he did not die in COVID. He died in cardiac arrest. But COVID-19 just made the threat. I mean, it has created a serious threat to the public health. So people who has little bit immunity, they are just losing everything due to this scaredness. So right now, I think for retrieving all the things, restarting all the things, we need to create can-do attitude among the people who are frustrated. That's why emotional intelligence is a must. And it can help. I know it will not help only to develop the interpersonal skill. I mean, Matt said rightly, it will help personal development, social development, community development, as well as, the country development, national, international development as well. So right now, this sort of presentation, especially, I have enjoyed his presentation. I'm welcoming Matt. If I get any opportunity, I of course invite him, because I have seen that he has a life, he has a charm, he knows where people should be given the right medicine at the right time, and this is that counseling. So of course, another one is perseverance, RPG, perseverance. It creates our, I mean, internal aptitude. It increases our internal attitude to complete the work successfully. And grit as well, they have also mentioned. So all the things are, I enjoyed a lot, not only enjoyed, I have just snapshot, I have taken snapshot of his every slides, how, why it has happened, and to whom we will deliver this. So depression, anxiety, stress is a part of our society, and right now it is increasing gradually. As long as Corona is increasing, COVID-19 is increasing, you know, and this frustration is also increasing. But the social worker, what they should do, they should do the right thing, because this is the right time. I think Matt is not a social worker. Matt is not a person who has come from social work discipline or something like this he mentioned, but he is doing the right thing. So every people in the community, I strongly believe that we know how to motivate the people. We know how to counsel the people. And during this time, we know that pandemic did not come alone. Yesterday I mentioned, it brings three things simultaneously. One is infodemic, another one is epidemic. When pandemic comes, every after 100 years, or if you see the history of the, if you see the previous history, you will find that pandemic never comes alone. It brings many things. In major, two things it brought. One is infodemic, I mean slanted of information, thousands of information, either fake, mis, disinformation, wrong information, all the things are coming together. So it is very difficult to pick up the right information at the right time to the disseminate for the right people. And at the same time, economical disaster happened during this time. The supply chain closed. Of course, our students need to be cheered up either through online classes or through by any means. So as a teacher in the other discipline, we are just keeping our students cheered up through online classes, where earlier we have taken 2-3 classes as per schedule, and we have developed our pedagogy in a very short scale that yes, out of 60 lectures, we will have to give 10 or 15 lectures to complete our syllabus. Right now, we are throwing our students assignment, new assignment, new task that will at least keep them very busy, and that will at least prevent them from anxiety, from depression, and from stress as well. So this must be done during this time, and it is one of the great weapons, I think, online classes that can be used during this time, and we are using this. But we don't think that yes, online classes will be the replica of the face-to-face classes. We know as long as the situation prevails, of course we will go back to our face-to-face classes, because we are missing the chemistry in the class. We are missing the face-to-face dialogue with our students in the class. But right now it is the demand of the time that we must do. So from every sector, from every corner in the society, everyone should come forward with counseling attitude, for creating the can-do attitude of the others people. Yes, you can. It will accelerate his perseverance. So today I was a good learner to present the session. Otherwise, I missed a lot, I think. And I have a plan. I have already. It's my passion to write papers on my profession, and every week I'm writing 2-3 papers for newspaper and somewhere else. I have a plan. Listening by this presentation from Mr. Mark, I have a plan to write a paper on it, especially on emotional intelligence. And online child abuse, another presenters also present, that is happening. Of course, we know our students what they're doing, but my suggestion for my country people, I am not suggesting other countries people because they are educated enough and though they know many things. It is also my appeal to my community people, that community parents, not people, community parents, that yes, what our kids does, what our kids are doing through online, we need to check it. That's why, of course, that's why we need to know technology very well. Not very well, at least we need to know how to monitor the sites where my daughter, where my son, I mean teenage daughter, teenage son browses over there. So I need not to be technologically smart, technologically master for that. I have a short joke, one joke at the end of my speech I would like to make with you. I know many people can know it. I would like to share it with you. One joke, that is, daughter studied in Massachusetts University, I mean Boston University in USA. MIT, daughter studied in MIT, father stay in very remote rural areas in Bangladesh. You know, many of the people know how, I mean the river basin areas, Khaliajuri. Father is a very, I mean, illiterate people. He doesn't know many things like daughter, but by the hard work, he studied her daughter and sent outside his daughter by getting a scholarship. So daughter talked to his father, Papa, I would like to get married. Papa said, to whom? Daughter said, yes, I have already selected one guy to whom I would like to get married. You just give me the permission. Then father said, okay, but how you have introduced with that guy? Let me know. Daughter said, I introduced with him through Facebook, discuss ourselves with Skype, share our photos and etc. through messengers. That's all. And you don't know anything, so why should I say to you? Then fathers replied, okay, no problem, mom. You share more photos with him through Tango and chat sometimes with him through WhatsApp. And you can buy some things from OLX.com. And when you get a baby, please keep it in the Dropbox. So daughter become thundered. Am I speaking with my father? How you, she just replied, father, how did you know about this? Father said, mom, I know these days will come. Once you will ask me about this. And just for you, I have learned this going in urban areas, cyber cafe. Just I have learned little bit things. I don't know many things. I have learned 5-6 apps. And that is why I have learned. I know you may ask anytime this. That's why you should think that I am not such an illiterate who will not understand Skype, who will not understand Messenger and something like this. That's why going in a cyber cafe, I have just learned.
Sorry, Dr. Nasiruddin.
So I think as a father, as a senior people, must need to know the technology only, not the teenage generation, for proper monitoring and something like this. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nasiruddin. And thanks for sharing the joke with us. Yeah, it was quite humorous. Now, actually, we don't have much time. We have another session that will be started within half an hour from this platform. So I just want to request Richard Hill to have to tell something very shortly. Please, Dr. Richard.
Please unmute your microphone. Richard, unmute your microphone, please.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you. And in the Dropbox. That's right. I will be very brief because I don't think there's a lot that needs to be said because there have been some wonderful presentations. I mean, this was a particularly interesting one for me to attend on both levels, that it is a social work conference. So a conference that deals with the broad population and broad groups and large numbers. But this was a topic about counselling and behavioural therapy and talking about the individual issues and the individual concerns. And this has been something that my connection with social work has highlighted since it began with the Brisbane Strengths Practice Group probably a decade ago, was this balance between attending to the individual and at the same time allowing that to be experienced and benefit the group, and equally to attend to the group and for that process and that activity to benefit and enhance the activity of the individual. And I think this is the even more difficult task. And as Matt was bringing out the difficulty of this social work, this work in the social arena, I must sort of share with you that there is a lot to know. There is possibly more to know than we need to know, but everything that you agreed with, everything that you liked, everything that you enjoyed, every piece of information or phrase or comment or particularly piece of technical language that intrigued you, research it, go find out more, look where it takes you, find the authors. I mean, just simply in Matt's work with emotional intelligence, Daniel Goleman is one of the original authors. But if you look in Daniel Goleman's book, as I did, you find Joseph Ledoux, who was the technical scientist who developed a lot of the ideas about the amygdala and fear and so on and so forth. And so you can find more there. And interestingly, in the last year, and I've been fortunate to have some conversations with Professor Ledoux, he's actually saying, oh, I'm sorry, folks, I think I didn't quite get it right. So even he, the investigator and the discoverer, is exploring further and looking deeper and finding what is the more that we need to know. And I think, Tanzima, that is the best message that I can leave everyone with. There was lots to learn, but by golly, there's a lot more to know.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. We don't have much time actually, but we have Mukhlis Rahman with us. Would you like to say something within 1 or 2 minutes, please? Please unmute your microphone. Yeah, thank you.
Honorable Chairperson, Dr. Tanzima Zohra Habib, thank you for giving me time. I know we are running out of time. So the papers, we have gone through 4. 3 is from USA. So I recall my Harvard education day, that time, counseling and cultural issues were my first class in Harvard. And today's the 3 papers parallels emotionally intelligent issues, applied behavior analysis, and also digital life. These are correlated and interrelated, and we enjoyed a lot. To be frank, the presentation was excellent, and Mr. Matz, happy birthday to you. It's a pleasure to us. And the issue clearly, and one paper from Kenya, Wilkins, these problems are virtually related in our society, in our daily life, we are facing these things. So I like to talk very few. Once I was director of behavioral science in PPHDC. So the behavioral science is so important for us to address these problems, to address this issue. We need self-assessment, we need self-realization, and at last we need self-respect. If we can assess ourselves individually, I think these issues can help each other, not only for individual, as a parent, as a Here, one paper, I think she is working in WHO. Tara, she mentioned in her paper that applied behavior analysis. The family is very important, kids and parents. So in one issue and one institution that is the oldest institution in the world, you know, madam, that is family. So the problems we are talking about, it creates and the its solution remains in the family. So we have to give priority in the family, and in COVID situation, we all are living with our family, whether we like or dislike. That is the reality and fate of our life. So it is very easy to say so many issues, but without family, we cannot run. So definition of family differs from country to country. In US, it is different. In our country, it is different. In our country, it's a joint family, but in USA, only single. So with these few assessment and
Honorable Session Chair, Madam, Honorable Session Chair, I beg your pardon. I do apology, please. Time is already up and our next session link is going to be actually off. So may I request you just close just within a minute, please. Madam. Thank you,
Okay.
Mufti sir.
thank you very much. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mukhlis Rahman. Thank you, Richard
madam.
Hill, Dr. Nasiruddin, and my thanks to all the presenters. It was a very lively and nice presentation today, and I think whatever profession we are in is helpful for all of us. All the presentation is about behavior, emotion, and what can we do to deal with these kind of problems. Is whether it is our own emotion or emotion with others we are living with. So thank you very much, all the presenters. Thanks Jessica Stone for her presentation. I thought I would request her for the video, but sorry, no time today. Maybe we can request her to share with us. And thank you, Tara. Thank you, Wilkins from Kenya. And of course, last but not least, Matt. His presentation was really, really insightful and helpful for us. I feel enriched. So
thank you, madam. Thank you for a wonderful session.
Thank
Actually,
you so
I'm
much.
very sorry to stop you all because next session, it's already Zoom link shared. That's why it might be disabled. And on behalf of you, on behalf of my team, I would like to convey happy birthday to Matt today. Matt, this is for you. Happy birthday.
wow.
Happy birthday, Matt.
Thank you. That's great. Oh, custom made.
All right, and hope to see you.
Thanks.
Hope to see you to the closing session. All, please. Thank you, everybody. Thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.